John Fury has been downplaying Alexander Usyk's chances of beating his son Tyson to such an extent that he's recently claimed that Francis Ngannou would have more chance of beating Tyson than Alexander Usyk. Now, this is completely ridiculous, of course. It's like saying Conor McGregor would have a better chance of beating Floyd Mayweather. Obviously, he didn't beat him, but, hypothetical scenario, he'd have a better chance of beating Mayweather than Sugar Ray Leonard would. That's literally what John Fury is saying coming out of his mouth. With Conor McGregor, he's a bigger guy, right, than a Sugar Ray Leonard. So same as what John Fury is saying with regards to Ngannou. Well, he's coming from an MMA background and he's big and strong and he's a juggernaut like Tyson and he's much more dangerous than Usyk. Usyk's nothing. He's a little rabbit. Tyson will destroy him. It's an easy fight. It's a mismatch. This is all the stuff coming out of John Fury's mouth. Now, this doesn't fill me with confidence in terms of this undisputed match happening next, when Tyson's dad, John, is coming out talking such utter rubbish, because it's as if he's trying to condition the public to desire a Tyson Fury, Francis Ngannou fight more than they would desire a Usyk fight by making out as though Ngannou's way more dangerous. I mean, this is the same family that have been saying AJ, who is a professional boxer and has been boxing professional for many, many years. This is the family that's been saying, oh, he's nothing but a big, stiff bodybuilder. All he's got is power. He can't box, this, that, and the other. But somehow Ngannou is this massive danger for Tyson Fury and presents way more of a problem than Usyk. Stop it. You're talking absolute nonsense. The reason that so many heavyweights are scrambling to fight Francis Ngannou, particularly after he's left the UFC, is because they see it as an easy payday. I know Derek Chisora said he would fight Ngannou in the cage, and of course Dylan White, who has some MMA experience, said he'd fight him in the cage as well. But there's plenty of heavyweights out there who've said that they would like to fight Francis Ngannou, because Ngannou's never had a pro boxing match, to my knowledge, in his life. They see him as food in the squared circle. So they want to go and eat that food. That's just what it is. And the same goes for Tyson Fury. The same goes for Tyson Fury's dad, John. He wants his son Tyson to have a nice, easy payday in a boxing ring against Ngannou. And they have apparently spoken about special rules where they fight in 4-ounce gloves. Still a boxing match, not MMA, no takedowns, but just fight in 4-ounce gloves rather than in 10-ounce gloves. That still favors Tyson Fury. Now, I think John, maybe even Tyson himself, but certainly John or maybe Peter, I forget who it was now. I've seen so many Fury videos over the years. They've claimed that Tyson's never had a street fight in his life. I find that very difficult to believe. Coming from a traveling background, he would have had fights, whether it's with kids in school or whatever the case may be. And he grew up around that culture, witnessing bare knuckles and all that kind of thing. Kids copy what they see. We all did to a certain extent. So, yeah, I find that very difficult to believe. The point I'm making here is I don't think the concept of fighting with little 4-ounce gloves on, which is not quite bare knuckle, but it's close to it, I don't think that concept is so foreign to Tyson Fury. You know what I mean? His whole family comes from that. So him doing that with Francis Ngannou, I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. Now, obviously, in boxing, your hands are wrapped to an extreme extent with knuckle pads and bandages and tape over the top, etc. And then you've got a 10-ounce fight glove on. And a lot of people don't realize that it depends on the fight glove, the model of fight glove and the brand. But to give you a couple of examples, the fight gloves that Liam Smith wore against Chris Eubank Jr., they're called Everlast Elite. And if you've ever actually worn a pair of Everlast Elite, you'll know that they're very, very solid. And the same goes for an even more popular glove, which is the Rival Guerrero with the HDEF foam. That's the most common variant of the Rival Guerrero fight glove. It's the HDEF Guerrero fight glove. And those gloves, you put them on your hand, make a fist, it's literally like a brick. It is rock solid. People who have never boxed or never tried on a pair of pro gloves, a lot of the time are under the assumption that boxing gloves are soft and pillowy. Well, you can get certain gloves that are, and even professional gloves like horsehair gloves, right? Certain fight gloves that have horsehair padding, they're soft, but you can still feel the hard knuckle, right? The hard wrap underneath. But with the majority of gloves that people wear, as I say, Rival Guerreros with the HDEF foam, they're rock solid on your hand. It's like a brick on your hand. That shocks a lot of people. I remember a friend of mine And it wasn't even fight gloves, but I had a pair of rival sparring gloves. I think they were the RS1s. And so a friend of mine, I was at his place actually. I'd come back from the gym and I had my sparring gloves on me in my bag. And I showed him the gloves. And he was shocked at how solid they were. The glove was like really hard. He's like, wow, you hit each other with these in the face? I thought gloves were soft. I was like, nah, bro. Yeah, we hit each other with these in the face. So anyway, long story short, I digress quite a lot. You guys know this. Long story short, Tyson Fury against Ngannou with 4-ounce gloves is still going to be Tyson Fury all day long. The only chance Ngannou really has is if Tyson Fury breaks his hands because, as I say, not used to the 4-ounce gloves, usually using 10-ounce gloves. But you look at Tyson Fury's most recent fights. Actually, I'm not sure about the Chisora fight, but certainly the last two Wilder fights. In fact, all three Wilder fights, he was wearing horsehair gloves. He wore Mexican Everlast, Mexican MX in the first fight, and he wore, I think, Pathan Sport with horsehair in the second fight. So he's been wearing the horsehair gloves, which don't offer actually that much protection in the knuckle. You know, you can feel the knuckle through the glove easily in a pair of Everlast MX. So, yeah, Tyson Fury against Ngannou in a cage under boxing rules isn't going to go much different to Tyson Fury against Ngannou under Queensberry rules in a normal boxing situation with 10-ounce gloves on. It's an easy fight for Mr. Fury. That's what it is. John Fury knows that. John Fury is a very knowledgeable boxing man. He knows what. See, the thing about John Fury is that he allows his emotions, and this is not one of those occasions, by the way, I don't think. It's him being manipulative. But on other occasions, he allows his emotions to cloud his judgment. And this is why back in the days, he got so many Anthony Joshua predictions wrong, where he kept on predicting AJ to lose and AJ kept winning. Eventually, of course, AJ lost. But I don't think any of the Furies actually picked AJ to lose it against Ruiz in the first fight, right? So with John Fury, he is a very knowledgeable boxing man. I mean, we talk about Peter Fury being a knowledgeable boxing man. So is John. John's got a very, very good boxing brain. But because of his bias in favor of his sons, you know, particularly with Tyson, and his bias against his son's rivals, that clouds his judgment when he's assessing certain things, right? But with regards to Francis Ngannou, John knows that that is a mismatch. He's talking about his son versus Usyk as a mismatch in his son's favor. No, he knows the Ngannou fight is a mismatch, but it's a mismatch for a load of money. So that's why he's talking that fight up. That's why he's trying to make out that Ngannou's so dangerous. Oh my gosh, that's the fight you guys should really want to see. But I'm certainly not falling for all that nonsense. As far as I'm concerned, I will accept nothing other than Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk next. There is no excuses. Fury Usyk must happen next. They mustn't let anything get in the way. They've had ample time to negotiate for this fight. I mean, it's been over 4 months now. No excuses for not getting it done. If the nightmare scenario occurs where Tyson Fury goes off and fights Ngannou instead of facing Usyk, seriously, people, I don't want to see anybody trying to make any excuses for it, because you can see the groundwork being laid for something like that to happen, with Tyson coming out talking about Ngannou, his dad, you know, hyping up the fight. I mean, it's like they're talking more about Ngannou than they're talking about Usyk. So it wouldn't just be a random thing. You have to take it all in context, you know, because I'm sure the Tyson Fury fanatics, as deranged as many of them are, would turn around and say, oh no, but how do you know it was Fury's fault that the fight didn't happen? This Ngannou thing was just there. And no. You'd have to look at it in context of him constantly talking about Ngannou for a long time, even during the negotiations for the Usyk fight. And then all of a sudden, bam, Usyk fight don't happen and he's fighting Ngannou. Come on. So I'm here doing what little I can, which isn't much, putting it out there that we want Tyson Fury versus Usyk next. That's the only acceptable fight for Tyson Fury next. Not kicking it down the line, down the road. No, next. Tyson Fury Usyk must happen. I hope it happens. I'm trying to remain optimistic, but the longer it drags out for, the more anxious I get. And this is Tyson Fury we're dealing with after all. This guy is not a straight shooter. This guy is the king of misdirection. He's a gaslighter extraordinaire, him and his dad. And on top of that, just in a general sense, we've seen so many fights, big fights that we all wanted to see, fall out after several months of negotiations. most recently with Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. So obviously, myself, and I'm sure most of you, don't want to see that happen again because it happens too often in boxing. We get these long drawn out negotiations, we're all building our hopes up, and then it doesn't happen. Let this not be another example of that. Get it across the line. Whatever the Saudis are paying, I'm sure it's more money than Tyson Fury would get fighting Usyk in the UK. So I don't want to hear no, oh, they didn't give us a good enough amount. What amount are you looking for? Do you know what I mean? Like, come on. If you're the best in the world, as long as it's better than you would get fighting Usyk in the UK, there's no excuse. So, and I just want to highlight this. That's my purpose of making this video. I want to highlight the fact that Team Fury are trying to create this narrative, right? John Fury in this case, that Francis Ngannou is this real danger for Tyson. He's more dangerous than Usyk. Keep an eye on stuff like this. It doesn't guarantee that Fury's going to swerve Usyk and fight Ngannou instead. That's not what I'm saying. But if they were going to swerve Usyk and fight Ngannou instead, this is the kind of groundwork that they would start laying, right? Surely you guys can see that. So keep an eye on it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you sick and tired of the mainstream mindset? Does the dogmatic conformity and pathological ignorance have you tearing your hair out in frustration? Then don't be alone. Come and join our brotherhood on Patreon. We stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. You'll gain access to my weekly topical podcast where we take more deep dives than Jacques Cousteau on an endless variety of subjects. There's also videos, interviews, live Q&As, as well as a vast back catalogue of previous episodes, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen via the Patreon app or download in high-quality MP3. Connect with myself and hundreds of other members in our Element chat group. There's no contract, no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a Mickey D's McMuffin. Just head to my Patreon page via the link below this video and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. I'll see you over there.